Hello, and welcome to Kingdom Inspired Kids podcast, where I am your host and founder, Calvette Boyd. So, I want to continue the series that we've been talking about summertime fun and summertime activities. In today's episode, we will be talking about traveling to Vegas. So, let's travel to Vegas. Sounds pretty fun, huh? Well, traveling to Vegas in the summertime with a teen or even an adult, but kids with ADHD or ADD can be, a little challenging. It can be a challenging experience, especially with the heat, the crowds, and if your kid is really impulsive or if they get overstimulated easy. So I want to talk about the heat. I mentioned that just a few seconds ago. The heat. In Vegas, the temperatures can get up to like 110 degrees. Now, if you've never been to Vegas before, and I'm not from there, but I've been there a few times. If you have not been to Vegas before, I can tell you that Vegas is a hot, dry place. So you want to make sure that you are prepared before you go to Vegas. You want to make sure that you get one of those straps that you can put around your body, kind of like a crossbody, that you can carry water or Gatorade, something like that in to stay hydrated. You also want to make sure that if you don't have it, grab you a couple of those cooling mist fans. So either the kind that goes around your neck, or you can do the one that you can just hold so that can add some mist. You can get some mist and stay hydrated, stay cool. You can also get some cooling towels. So before you even think about going to Vegas, or you do have a thought, go ahead and grab those things. For me, those are some essentials that I always like to take. The next thing is, with it being so hot, you don't want your kid to be in a place where they're agitated or they get aggravated really easy. So plan your stay. Where are you staying? Are you staying somewhere like Circus that is full of kids? Or do you want to stay somewhere like the Bellagio or Venetian, MGM Grand, someplace like that where, yes, there's going to be kids in Vegas because there's families in Vegas, but do you want to be somewhere that's super kid friendly like Circus where you could really get overstimulated easy? Or do you want to be somewhere a little more calmer like Bellagio, Venetian, MGM Grand, somewhere like that where it's not so, the environment is not where they are overstimulated that easy. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about where you're going to stay. The next thing is, once you get to Vegas. Now, when I travel with my family, we usually travel early morning. So we do early flights, and if we can, we do early flights back. So we always travel early in the morning where it's not a lot of people. The airports aren't as crowded. It's not a place where it can be where you're overstimulated easy. It's not a place where I don't put myself in a position where I'm uncomfortable. So I always like to travel really, really early in the morning. So think about that before you get to Vegas. Okay, when you get to Vegas and you get to your hotel room and all that stuff, just make sure that you're planning out things. Now, listen, 4 or 5 days in Vegas, there's so much to see and so many things to do, but you got to be structured and you got to make sure that you're planning out your day. Everybody in the family needs a plan. You want to be structured. You want to have some flexibility, but you also want to have a plan. There is an app that's called Time. I think it's Time Timer that you can use. And that way you can put in there what's coming up next so that your family knows. Or you could just do it in your calendar and send it to your family so that you guys all know what event is next, what you're doing next. Key to being in Vegas, downtime. You must have some downtime. You have to schedule breaks, quiet time back at the hotel so that our sensories aren't overloaded. We're not overstimulated. And sometimes it's nice to rest. So for me, I told you my family, we travel early. When we plan out our activities for Vegas, we do the things that are, we get up early when a lot of people are still sleeping because they've had a late night before, the night before. We get up really early and we start moving. We get up, we start walking the strip, we go to breakfast, and then we start our activities, we start our day. We try to plan things like, if you're gonna go zip lining, for us, we want to do that when it's cool. So we want to get up and do that. If you're gonna go ATV riding out in the desert, we want to do all of those activities early in the day so that by lunchtime, when everybody is just moving around, we're coming back to take a break, have some lunch, and then that's when we like to have our downtime so that when we get ready to crank it up again, we're rested and things have kind of calmed down for us. We're energized again and we're ready to go. Think about this. When you're out and about in the morning time, if you're going to move early in the morning like we do, think about things like, do I need to carry snacks? If your child or children take medicine for their ADHD or ADD, then a lot of times they lose their appetite and they don't want to eat. So for me, it's best if we get up, walk the street, get a little walking in, walk the strip, get a little walking in the morning, early in the morning, kind of get your body going, get moving, go and have breakfast, then take your medicine, and then start doing other things. Because listen, that medicine, a lot of the medications that our children take is medicine that does curb their appetite. So you want to make sure that you've got snacks in your bag. Remember, I told you guys to get the little water bottle so that they can have juice or, something to keep them hydrated, water, whatever it may be. But think about packing those snacks, making sure you got something to stay hydrated, but also moving through the crowds. If it does become a little crowded before lunch, which it never has when I've been in Vegas, make sure that you've got things like earplugs or headphones that cancel out all that noise in the background. I know my kids like to do TikTok, so they might start while we're waiting in line. They might be like, "Hey, mom, will you hold my phone so I can start doing my little TikTok?" So, sometimes we might do things like that, but that way it keeps them from being so overwhelmed or overstimulated in the crowds. Okay. Now, I'm reminding you guys, we move early. We plan out our day. By lunchtime, we're going back to go back to the room, grab some lunch, and then head back to the room, I should say. And then we're going to relax. While we're relaxing, maybe you need a nap. If your kid needs a nap, you guys can rest and take a nap. If they just want to, watch a little TV, or you guys want to play some family games, that is fun as well. Then you can go ahead and get ready for the activities in the evening time. Now, listen, a lot of people like to go to Vegas for the gambling and, that kind of thing. I like to go to Vegas because I like to go to the shows. And I love to go and see beautiful things and different tourist places. I know one of my kids loves Taco Bell. So, like, I can't wait for my kid to see the Taco Bell in Vegas and try all the different slushies and those kind of things. So for me, I am planning out what's next. So we get in the room, we've already had a little lunch. If your child's not if they still don't have their appetite, just make sure you pack some snacks. They're relaxing or you guys are playing games, and then you get ready to go back out. Listen, when you get ready to go back out, make sure you're ready. Because I can tell you this for sure is the time that you want to make sure that you have those noise cancellation earplugs or headphones or whatever it is that you may have that you're going to want to use to cancel out some of that noise. There's so many things in Vegas to do that you can, when you get ready to go back out, you can catch an Uber, you can hop on the bus, you can buy a bus pass really inexpensive, and you guys can ride up and down the strip. But there's a lot of things that you're going to want to do when you get there. So that's the reason it's so important to kind of plan things out before you get there. You can also download, there's, I think it's My Vegas or Vegas.com. You can go to those websites and see all the different activities that are going on and add that to your calendar or to that time timer app so that you know exactly what you're going to do. But when you get ready to get back out, don't forget, gotta have a snack for the kiddos or the teens. They're all kiddos to me, but you gotta have your snacks. Make sure get your cooling towels again. Get your whatever you're drinking, your water or your Gatorade, Powerade to stay hydrated, juice for little kids, whatever it is that you're gonna have. And then this is when you want to go out and do things like go to the stratosphere. You might want to get on one of those rides. There's one ride I know at Stratosphere where you go up. I think the Stratosphere is like one of the tallest buildings or something in the US, one of them or something like that. But you can go to the top of the Stratosphere and there's this ride that you get on that just like drops you down really, really fast. And when you drop down to, there's another level, and then you can meet your family can meet you there, you can meet there, whatever. But there's things like that that might have a longer line because it's later in the evening. And then you can also, I told you, if we're going to zip line, we want to zip line earlier in the day. You can zip line on the strip, or you can zip line on Fremont Street, which is a nice evening zip line, because when you go down through Fremont Street, that's like the old part of Vegas. And yes, it's busy, and Fremont Street has a lot of things that are not necessarily appropriate for kids. But if they're teens, some of this stuff you're going to see, they've been exposed to it anyway. You just want to make sure that they're having fun. And they've got those headphones on or those earbuds in so that they can not get overwhelmed. But you could go zip lining down through town, down in the evening time. You could also you could go to the Grand Canyon. That's something that you would have to, you have to do like an excursion, and you could go to the Grand Canyon, do that tour. That's super fun. What I like to do when I go on vacation, not just Vegas, but when I go on vacation, I like to make sure that no matter where I go, I like for my kids to learn something that's educational or something that's about history. So you can also add like museums that are not going to be so overwhelming, things like that to it. You can also go to I think the Bellagio fountains are free, where they play music, and the water dances to the music. It's really cool. It's a free event. And a lot of families love doing that. And you can just kind of stand, you're just kind of standing outside the fountains. So you get that nice cool breeze in the evening time. It's lit up really pretty at night. It's really nice. So you could do things like that. And then I believe it's at the Venetian where you can get in a little boat where they, kind of you paddle through the shopping mall. Things like that are going to be super fun and not so overwhelming that your children become overstimulated. Now, it's Vegas, so you want to do something fun. You don't want to just do everything that is just, on point. You're going to want to add some flexibility to your schedule. So make sure that you add some flex time to your schedule so that your children are able to have a little time to venture off and let's do a lot of, some other things. Now, one of the things that I didn't mention earlier is that you want to make sure that you are strategic when it comes to eating. Okay, because now we're out and it's later in the evening. And if your kid takes their medicine early morning, 8 o'clock, and the medication has worn off, it's immediate medication that's like 3 or 4 hours, or if it's extended release, it's getting later in the evening and your children are going to be hungry. So even though you're carrying those snacks, it's going to be time for some dinner. So you want to make sure that you kind of plan it. You're with your kid every day, so when when their medication wears off and when they're hungry. So plan your meals around that time so that everyone, so that you guys can sit down together. And we're just kind of tailoring this vacation not just for the kid but for the adult as well. It could be that you have dinner and then your child wants to go back to a room, especially if they're a teenager. They might go want to go back to the room while you go, you and your spouse or you and your friends or whoever's with you, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they might want to go somewhere and have a sit down nice dinner. And then the kid might, or teenager might want, not kid, but teenager might want to stay in the hotel room for an hour or so by themselves. That gives them a little free time to kind of calm down, relax. Maybe if they're a gamer, they might want to do a little gaming, but be careful with that screen time too. That's a whole nother podcast episode. But just make sure that we're planning our days out for the children as well as for the adults, because this is a family vacation and you want to make sure that you're having fun. Make sure, something else that I need to mention is make sure that you limit the gaming floor exposure. Children are not allowed to just hang out on the casino floor in Vegas. So you want to make sure that, I think there's a couple of hotels that don't have um casinos in them, but very few in Vegas. Most of the hotels or resorts have gambling, so you have casinos. So you want to make sure that as you're traveling, your route, where if you're going to eat or going to wherever you're headed, make sure that you're monitoring and you planned out your route so that your children are not staying on the gaming floor. You can't do that. So plan your hotel route accordingly. Another thing that I want to mention is make sure that as you're standing in these lines, if you got little bitty kids that are like moving all around or whatever, take them some kind of small puzzle or puzzle game or some kind of fidget or something like that they can play with, so that kind of takes up some of their time and they're not frustrated and aggravated, or they don't start to cry or things like that. Because remember, this vacation is for everybody. It's a family vacation. So I have not shared that information yet with my family that we are taking the trip to Vegas, but I have already started planning because I want to make sure that everybody in the party enjoys themselves. All right, guys, that ends today's episode. Please follow me on YouTube. You can also like, comment, subscribe to my channel, as well as find me on TikTok and other Facebook and other social media. I appreciate you guys for joining, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. We will talk soon.